Everyone. I hope everybody is enjoying the sunnier weather we've been having. I'm Sam Connell. I'm one of the librarians at New Canaan Library. Really glad you guys are with us today. We have Caryn Antonini here to show us some lovely recipes and some great techniques. I do want to introduce Caryn. Caryn brings the world to your table with quick and easy recipes, tips, and ideas. She grew up surrounded by friends and guests from overseas, sparking a lifelong interest in languages, cultures, and travel. Caryn has actually traveled extensively, living abroad during her global enterprises and cultivating recipes along her travels. Caryn has built a new brand around her cooking passion called CultivatedByCaryn, and she's also a regular on-air contributor, host, and producer of a 30-minute cooking show called The Town Dish. Today, she's here to show us some Valentine's Day treats. So enjoy. Thanks for coming, Caryn.
Oh, thank you, Sam. Thanks so much. This is one of my favorite things to do is baking for Valentine's Day. So I am going to start out, we're going to do some tomato tart hearts, some conversation heart cookies, kind of like the little candies. And then we are also going to do some beautiful tuile, like little wafer cookies in flower cups, in the shape of flower cups. So I'm going to just dive right in and start with the tomato tart hearts because we have quite a few things to get through. So what you're going to need for this, I think you probably have the recipe, is some puff pastry. I really love this brand. It's just a little bit, it's a little more high-end than the normal puff pastry you can find. If you find the other, that's totally fine. You can get this at Walter Stewart's, Wilton Market. We're going to need a little bit of flour to dust your board, some Roma tomatoes. I like to get them, they keep them nice and firm for these little tarts, and a little bit of water and some goat cheese, or you can use a mozzarella. I'm just going to use a goat cheese to show you today. You can also add some herbs to that if you like, but let's get going. So I've preheated my oven to 450 degrees. And I've lined one of my baking sheets with some parchment paper. This will make your life a lot easier. I use it whenever possible. So actually, these are the little tarts that we're making, just like this, little bite-sized, delicious pastry puffs. I'm going to put those over there. That's what they look like. And open up my pastry. Oh, and you are also, I'm sorry, going to need these little cookie cutters, heart-shaped cookie cutters. If you have a large and a small, preferably the smaller gives you, so you can see this, enough of an edge around, I think you can see that, an edge, not too, don't make it too much bigger on the inside. Otherwise, it's a little difficult to maneuver the dough. You'll see in a second. So put that there. And first I'm going to liberally use this flour because this is very tacky dough. That's why I've kept it in the fridge. It usually is in the freezer section, so definitely make sure to defrost it fully before you use it, of course. And then just put some flour on your working surface, and I'll probably start with about half. We won't make them all because we have other things to do, but about half of this dough. So you can reserve the rest in the fridge. I like to keep this in the fridge when I'm not working with it because if you have this, if you're working along, you can see it's pretty tacky dough, sticky dough. So I like to keep it in the fridge for that reason. So I'm just going to cut, let's see if I can do this, take this guy off. Oops. Saran wrap, and then cut. I'll do about half. So I'm just taking about half, cut it right down the center with, or right in the middle of the seam, because we are going to roll this out. So the rest of this, I'm going to set aside. Okay, put that over there, make some room. So just make sure you have a lot of flour down, and then lay down your dough like this. And then also take your rolling pin and make sure that is floured really nicely as well. It's a good dusting. And if it ever sticks, my favorite tool for that is definitely use a stainless spatula, a metal spatula, because it will get the dough right off, and then you just roll it up and start over. Make sure you can see there's no mistakes. Just roll up your dough. So I'm gonna roll this out kind of as thin as I can get it, because they do puff up in the oven. So I'm going to just roll it out. And then there, good enough. Okay. So what I'm going to do is make as many heart shapes with the larger one as I can. Just make those shapes and make sure to push down. It's kind of sticky. It gets very delicate, but the thing is, you can just shape the little heart with your fingers. Really no mistakes here. And I'm just going to put that right on my baking sheet right away. I'm going to use as many as I can. Let's see. Oops. There. So I'll do those and then keep going. Some of them I'll leave because we're going to cut them with the smaller shape, the cookie cutter. You can find these cookie cutters. Sometimes they have them at Consider the Cook in town, and sometimes Walter Stewart's, but certainly at the Cook's Nook in Wilton. That's such a great store, and they have all shapes and sizes. They have pretty much anything you could possibly want. So give a little space to your hearts on your sheet, on your parchment lined cookie sheet. So I'll just do a few more of these guys just to show you, so we don't run out of hearts. We have lots of other things to do. Okay. So there, I've got a few hearts here. Now I'm going to take the smaller one and make some more. Whoops, make some more hearts here. I'm sure there's enough. Yes, floured. Like I said, if it's sticking, you can always just roll up the dough again. Just make sure you knead it so it doesn't get all the little. It can get little creases in it. Just make sure you knead it with your hands a little bit if you are reworking, because obviously you're going to have more as you go on. Now, I'm going to take my little cookie cutter and make a little shape in the center and then pop that out. So I have a nice, pretty heart cut out like this. Whoops, it's sliding off my hand. So I'm going to stick that over here for now, just because so it doesn't stick to the board at all. And then I'm going to assemble. And if you want, you can bake these little hearts, the cutout, or you can just roll it back up in the dough so you're not wasting this dough. It is a little more expensive than the normal dough, but is definitely worth it. The taste is so delicious. I use it for little pizzette. Sometimes I almost made those today. They're pretty too, a little red for Valentine's. That's on my website if anyone's interested. So I'll make a few more of these guys. Cut these out. There. And these are great. These are just nice little bite-sized appetizers or light bites. Okay. A couple more, 3 more. Make it even. And you can use whatever kind of cheese you like or little flavoring. You can even use a little pesto underneath the tomato if you like, just a little dab. So whatever just kind of adds a little bit of flavor that you like, you can use. I'll show you how we're going to assemble these. Let's see, that feels a little sticky there. You're okay. Okay, do a couple more. Get my heart. I can reshape them, not a problem. Okay, there. So you just move your little heart around to kind of get the shape. You'll see as you're doing it, if you're doing it now or later, there's no mistakes there. So you get, the cookie cutters are sharp, but not that sharp. There, so I have all my little shapes. now I'm going to take, I have my Roma tomatoes here, and I like to get them a little bit on the larger and firmer side because so they don't just kind of fall apart, and they're a really great kind of hearty tomato to use for this dish. And I have my goat cheese. So I'm going to add a little bit of that. I've softened it, kept it out. So it's just going to add a little dab right onto the heart without the cutout, the one that's just a heart. Just put a little dab there on each one. And it'll kind of melt down in the oven a little bit. Just a tiny bit, because we're going to assemble them with the top with the cutout heart. There we go. Okay. And then, so there we go. Now I am going to, so I've done that with my cheese, just rinse my hand off. And then I'm going to take this cutter. So I leave this till the end, take the small cutter and slice my tomatoes. I don't know if you can see this off camera a little bit. Let's see, maybe I can move this so you can see. I'll just use this later. So all this dough, I would just put it back together, knead it a little bit because you get all these little creases and then you won't see that anymore. So knead it if you're going to reuse it later. We're done with that for right now. Stick that back in my fridge and I'll show you these hearts, or the tomato hearts. So I have my nice sharp knife because it's easier to cut through and make little slices of my tomato. And I have a couple slices already. I'm just gonna make a little slice, a couple more. I have about 3. Yeah, I'll probably need some more. And you might want a little sprinkling. I always use a tiny bit of sea salt just to kind of give it a little flavor. I've got that right there. And so I'm gonna take my little heart cutout and just make a little shape here. And again, just push, you can just push up the rim so you get a nice little shape. And if you need to use a knife underneath, sometimes the tomatoes might fall apart a tiny bit. This is pretty good. That's why I like the Roma tomatoes, because they really keep their shape. So I've got this really cute little heart shape, and I'm just going to push it down in the center. And then I have a little bowl of water here. So I'm just going to dip a little water around the edge of the heart. I think you can see this, just around the edge, around the outside, so that the top layer will stick. And I'm going to assemble my heart. So which guy would I use? So I'm going to take one of these and then just push it down around and push down gently. There, got one heart. So then you just repeat the process, do your little heart shapes. And these guys are great little bites. Just enough of that delicious pastry dough with a little cheese and tomato. It's really, really good. So I hope you will try these and you can experiment, see what you like in here. Okay, so get another, put these together. I think you can see this, yes, still on camera. Okay, another shape or two. And there we go, and you can use these, use those in a salad, maybe. Okay, a little bit of water around the edge. There. And I will bake these for about 8 to 10 minutes. I would check at about 8 minutes just to see how they're going, because it goes quickly. Once you cook that pastry dough or bake the pastry dough, it can go quickly. So depending on your oven, of course, just you know your oven. So check it at the earlier side if you've never made these before. Let's stick this down and get around the edges. So I might, let's see, do a couple more and then get going, because we have a lot to get through. I want to show you all these other things. So I might actually leave these. I don't want to run out of time. but you've seen the finished product. So that's how you assemble them. I think I'm gonna leave this for now. I wanna get through, but you've seen that. I'll show you again. I'll bake those later. These little pastry puffs, which are so delicious. So if we can do it at the end, I'll do it. I just want to make sure that we get these wonderful tuile cookies I'd like to show you. I'm going to get rid of my mess here and adjust my oven. The tuile they leave 425. So adjust that 425. And this I'm definitely going to show you because I want to show you what it looks like when they need to come out of the oven. So okay, so I have a cool cookie sheet and I'm going to butter that. First I'm gonna get this out of the way, my mess. And I use a cold stick of butter just because it's easier to, I think it's here. Cold stick of butter, it's easier to grease the pan, but definitely make sure that it's cool because in between doing these tuile cookies, I'll show you as we get going, but you may want to allow it to cool or definitely allow it to cool or use another baking sheet, because they're so delicate, these little cookies, that they'll start cooking before you can get all your batter. There's not a lot of batter, but it will start cooking. So, and just make sure there's enough. These are delicate, but when you grease it well, it should be fine. You will have no problems. So just make sure. And a nice cold stick of butter is just a lot easier. There we go. Okay, so that is ready. Get my board out of the way and show you. So I'll show you what they look like. This is what we are going for. These beautiful little delicate cups. They're just little wafers. They're so good. And we're gonna fill them today with a little whipped cream and some berries. So I'm gonna get all my mess out and transfer over. Let's see. Okay, I'll put this over here for now. When we make our conversation heart cookies, we'll come back to that board. So now I'm going to get, so for the tuile, you're going to need your powdered sugar and some butter. Make sure it's softened, and always have your eggs at room temperature. So I've cut these out. We need 4 egg whites for this. So make sure to keep them at room temperature because all the ingredients really need to blend. That way you'll make sure that they're blended. So I'm gonna bring this over. There's the flour we need to sift. So I'm going to start by taking the powdered sugar, dump it in my bowl, and my softened butter. All these ingredients, if I go quickly, they were on the recipes that Sam sent you. So I think it's half a cup of butter, 1 cup of powdered sugar. So I'm going to blend that. It gets a little crumbly, so you can just blend it as well as you can. And then we're gonna add the 4 egg whites right in there with a little bit of vanilla. So I'm gonna add a little vanilla right in there. Okay, and then in. So I just start. It does fly a little bit, but just try to blend it a tiny bit before you add the eggs. Now it's a little powdery, so I'm going to go ahead and let me get a bowl for those egg whites. Actually, I'm going to get a clean bowl because I don't want to make sure my egg whites are pure and clean. So I always do my eggs individually, so I don't get any. In case I get the yolk, then I don't ruin all of the egg whites. So I'll do them here. There we go. So there's 1. And these cookies are actually really easy to make. There's just one little step, a couple of steps that I wanted to show you, but they are so much fun. You're also going to want some little tiny bowls. I'll show you in a second. Put that guy in there. Like a bowl this size, or the clear glass ones, because that's how we're going to form the tuile, the little flower cups. You can also roll the wafers. You'll see when they come out of the oven, you can roll them. You just work quickly to shape them, whatever shape you like. But the wafers are just delicious on their own as well. I had to hide them from my kids last night. They love these. Okay, so here we go. Last one. Oops. Get any yolk in there. Okay, so they're a little soft once they've been sitting out. The yolk gets a little softer, but we can still do it. Okay, so I'm gonna blend this together just until it's blended, but not too frothy. This is a little easier to work with now. I'll show you what this looks like. You just want to make sure that it's smooth. So I'll wait till I finish so I don't splatter. But that looks pretty good, the consistency. Okay, so it looks like, oops, it just looks like this. Hopefully you can see that. It's not frothy, but all the ingredients are just really nicely blended. And I'm going to get my sifter. Let's see, make sure. And my ½ cup of flour, here it is. And I'm just going to put this right over here and just sip this right into this bowl. Always helps to have it all prepped too. Of course, this makes it so much more fun. Just turn on some music and start baking, and then you know everything is there. Okay, so then you can just kind of fold this in or blend it at a low speed. You definitely want to make sure, of course, that it's blended, but you don't want to overdo it. This is my new powerful blender, so I have to go quickly and make sure it's all blended. I do love it. Okay, just enough. There we go. All right, so then you're going to want to get, I have it around here somewhere, my teaspoon or my tablespoon. So what you're going to do is take about 1.5 tablespoons. I just find this a lot easier. I'm going to transfer this over so you can see it better. So about 1.5 tablespoons of the batter right onto the baking sheet, the greased baking sheet. And I usually do about 3, just 3 at a time. And I'll tell you why. It usually makes about, I don't know, 6 or 7 per batch, or maybe a little bit more. But I do 3 at a time because they really spread out. And also when they come out of the oven, you're going to see that you have to work quickly to just make those little shapes. So just do 3 at a time. Be a lot easier, especially if you're just starting out. So I'll probably do a little bit more. Let's see, about 1.5 tablespoons. And then just use the back of the tablespoon to kind of spread it out, or you can use your finger and just make sure it's spread out kind of thinly, not too thin, but just enough so it makes a nice round disc like this. Let's see. So I'll put 3 on this tray. And this I will show you, like I said. So we're only going to bake this at 425 for about 5 to 6 minutes. So I always check at about 5 minutes And then if it needs a little bit longer, that's great, but I'm not gonna overdo it because you really wanna take it out when the sides begin to brown. You don't need to do much more, but you can see in the center if it's cooked yet. So I'll show you. There we go. A little bit more, make these nice round discs. And they do spread a little bit. There we go. Okay, last one. So this is perfect. It's just enough. And I'll probably get about 6 or 7 of these little cups in the end. And what you want to do is keep them in really a tightly sealed container. I just keep them in tins until I'm ready to use them, and do not fill them until right before you're ready to serve, because they'll just get mushy. So you can use ice cream, you can use anything that you like. I'm going to use some whipped cream with some berries. They always look really pretty, but anything you like to use is totally fine. Just wait till you're ready to serve. Okay, so there we go. So I've got my 3 little discs, and whoops, I'm gonna put that in. I'm actually gonna time that with my phone because this is critical. I get the right time here. Get it going once it gets in there. Whoops. Okay. And I put this on the center rack so it's not too, I'm gonna start my timer here, and I'm just gonna keep an eye on that. So I keep it on the center rack so it's not too high up, it won't get burned, just right in the center. So, all right, I'm gonna get rid of some of my mess as we're doing that, and then bring over my whipped cream. Let's see if I can bring that over with my other blender, kind of give it a little, while we're waiting, I'll give that a little blend. And they have these beautiful raspberries. I was so happy to find these. They look so good. Or you can use any kind of little tiny berries. I had some blueberries the other night, and you can put them right in your little cups. So I will fill one as we're waiting. Okay, just give this a little blend, get it. I'd already started it. I don't need to do too much probably. Okay, so I've got that. Okay. Now let's see, which one should we use? This one's so pretty. Okay, you can see I'm trying to find one that's big. I love to use these little teacup saucers. I was telling Sam, as a boy mom, I love any opportunity I can get to use something pretty. I do pull out something delicate and nice. So I'm just gonna fill up my little cup like this with a little whipped cream, and there we go. Whoops, for the cream, I just did normal whipping cream, a little bit of sugar and vanilla, just normal. You can use as much or as little sugar as you like. I find with a cookie and things like this, it's more delicate. It's kind of nice to use a little less, but it's up to you, of course. And then I'll use maybe 3 little berries right in here, keeping an eye on my timer. So you'll have this like amazing little, beautiful little thing that's like pretty easy to make, a little tuile cup. And those are delicious. So set that over there. I have about 2.5 minutes. I'm keeping an eye on that. And while that is going, I'm going to make some space here so that I can take it out and show you. Get ready for my the next project, the conversation heart cookies. Okay, whoops, I'll get my little bowls. Okay, so these are the little bowls that I'm talking about. They're kind of like the smaller size. They're great. I use these for everything. But today I'm going to use them to shape the little wafers in. So as I said, I use 3 at a time, and that's why, because it's a lot easier. So let's see. We have a few minutes, about 2 minutes left there. Just don't want to over bake. Get this going while actually I'm going to keep it there because I want my work surface. But luckily we need that nice big board for the conversation heart cookies, which I'm going to show you now because we have a little time in between. So these are really, really fun. These are just the sugar cookies, I think you can see. And I use some special little cutters that if you can find these or you can order these. I don't know, maybe the Cook Snook, I was there the other day, but they're normal little heart cookies. On the inside, they have little XOXO, I love you, hug me. And you just make these little shapes and then use the coloring to make these really cute little cookies. And it's just so much fun. They kind of mimic the conversation heart candies. So those are really fun and colorful. So I'm going to stick those there. We have about 45 seconds left. So I want to keep an eye, make sure, get my glasses on. Get a sip of water while we're waiting. Okay. 30 seconds. Okay. So get this ready. All right. And I have also the coloring. Well, about 20 seconds. The little colors that I use for the cookies. You can get this on Amazon, or again, I think the Cook Snook has that too. So those are great, and they're safe and food safe too. All right, so I'm gonna peek in my oven. Oh, these look great. I'm gonna keep them maybe for like about 5 minutes, maybe 15 seconds, but they look really good. Oops. Let's see, a little bit longer. You just want them browned around the edges. You're gonna see them in a second when I bring them out. So maybe like I usually do about 5.5 minutes for me. So we're just about at that mark, and I'm going to bring them out to show you.
Caryn, do you have time to answer a few questions?
Sure. I'm gonna,
Okay,
yeah, this will rest for, let me just tell you, when you bring this out, here, I'm gonna show you. I'll do, as I'm making them, I can totally answer the questions. They're gonna look just like this, just browned around the edges, and you're gonna let them sit for about 20 to 30 seconds and get your metal spatula. And now I can take questions.
We had a question about flour, when you sift and when you don't sift.
Oh, for this, because they're so delicate, you want it, it's really light. It makes it, these wafers are really, really, just really delicate. So in this case, yes, you would definitely sift. It just tends to make things a little bit lighter. So already, let's see, it's been a few seconds. I'm gonna work quickly to get this off the edge. Whoops, rolled over. Okay, so I'm gonna shape this, try to pinch the sides. It doesn't matter, but I try to make like a little cup push down on the bottom. So it makes that, you can rest it on a saucer and you've got one. So there we go. Once you, oopsie, I won't rush. Edges off. This guy got a little close to the side. Let me get this one. Butter the sides as well. And if it gets too stuck, you can always put it back in the oven for, 15 seconds to unstick. Whoops, I didn't butter the edges as well. Whoopsie. But it's okay because you can still salvage this guy. Here, I'll just cut it off like that. You've got your little edges. There we go. You can unstick it, just pinch, and you still have your little flower shape. There we go. And this guy. So if it gets a little bit stuck, you can pop it back in and it just softens right back up. There we go. Okay, so you just take it and you can roll these as well. They're really, really pretty. Put a little cream in them or just leave them as little cookies. They're so pretty. So any shape you want, I just usually try to press down a little bit and then it makes that little bowl shape, which is great. See how these delicate little flowers, and then just let them sit like this. I don't know, I usually let them sit for at least 20 minutes or 30. So I know that they're set. I have a set of these, of other little bowls. I have these green ones, anything you have about this size. I even have like my kids when they were little, these little plastic bowls, anything that you can just, about that size that you can just set these in. And again, that's why I just make 3 at a time, because it's a lot easier to get them off the pan. So that is how you make the little tweel. And then just, yes, make sure that you really butter the edges. I missed a few of the edges here, but the easier it is to just get them right off. And if they get stuck, just pop it back in for a few seconds and they should loosen back up while you're working on the other cookies. Okay, I think I'm gonna set this over here. And sorry, was there another question, Sam? Sorry.
No, I feel bad. Maybe that was not very well
Oh
timed.
no,
I know
that's
that making
okay.
twills is very, very delicate timing.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, there was a question about whether you can replace eggs when someone has an egg allergy.
Oh, you know what? I don't know. I would have to look into that. I know there are different egg whites that might be, I'm not sure. These are so delicate. Like I wouldn't use egg whites, like the ones that you buy, just egg whites or whatever they call them. I just personally wouldn't use those. I have used those in the past for like a meringue, and it didn't seem to just create the stiff enough peaks. So I'm not really sure if you can do that. I would have to look into that. I'm not sure what you could use, but maybe you could do like I don't know about the powder too. I have like the meringue powder. If there's something, there may be something on the market like that. I know that I would have to look, but I can definitely look. Because someone asked me about that, and I was making pesto the other day, and someone asked me about a cheeseless pesto. So there are alternatives, but I will have to look at that.
Thank you.
Sure. Okay, so those are our tweel, and I'm gonna set those, the kids can eat those. I don't have to hide these anymore. Okay, so I'm going to do the conversation heart cookies now. I'm gonna show you, these are really just really basic, easy. I have this recipe on my site too. I use this for a lot of different, lots of different things, iced sugar cookies. And this one though, I'm adding the colorings like I showed you. So I'm going to put some parchment paper down. You might not even, let's see what the time is. We might not have time to bake these, but like I showed you the finished product, but I am going to show you how to make these cookies. So pretty easy. And I have my dough. Actually, I'm going to get my dough out. That is what I need to get out. So if you are making, actually made like half of it last night to show you, if you are making this, you will need a couple hours you're going to make the cookies. Just plan that you need to keep it in the fridge for a couple hours. It just kind of firms up. This is, ooh, something shifted in my cupboard, some pans. So you need to, it is a sticky, kind of a sticky dough too. That's why we're going to need to use the flour. Not as bad as that pastry dough, or as delicate, let's say, but you do want to put it in the fridge because it will help all the flavors come together too, but it kind of firms it up a bit. But I'm going to show you how to make use the coloring with it. So I put all my ingredients, have my eggs here. This makes quite a few cookies, but what's nice is if you want to make some, you can keep it in the fridge. It's tightly wrap the dough. I made half last night to show you, but it does make quite a bit. But again, you can do some today, you can do some over the weekend, you could do footballs, Super Bowl Sunday, if you're so inclined, whatever you like. So that's the nice thing about this dough. It keeps for a little bit in the fridge. And so you're going to need your butter and the flour. So a cup of butter and 2 cups of sugar. There's about 4.5 cups of flour that we need to sift too. So it does make a lot, but if you're going to make these cookies, all those cookies and you want stacks like I made, I would definitely do the whole enchilada. I would make all the dough that's listed on the recipe, because I separate the dough into different bowls and then add the colorings. And by the time you do one batch, you're ready to do another. But again, you can do you could do pink and purple, or, you know, whatever you like, or just all pink. So of course. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and I'll cream my butter. Let me see, and get my little beaters over here. Could have been cleaning those, instead of jabbering away. Okay. All right. So this is very easy. It's basic recipe. I have my 1/2 cup of milk that I'm going to alternate with the flour once that's all sifted. Let's see, got my big sifter for that today because we got all that flour to get through. And oops, baking powder, I'm sorry, 4 teaspoons of baking powder and some salt. So here we go. Let's get that going. Let's see. Actually, I hope we have enough. Yeah, we have enough time. I'll quickly make this and then show you. So you're just going to want to cream the butter and gradually add your sugar. Make sure that's all incorporated. The other thing you can do on these cookies, hope you can hear me loud, is you can type a little icing into the letters if you want, or if you're just making them and you can't find these cookie cutters, you can also just do the colors and write the little messages yourself. Just get a little piping bag and a little small tube. If you have any questions, you can always send them through my website. It's very easy. I'm happy to answer. Dump all that in there. Okay. I'll add my eggs one at a time. And I'm going to beat the eggs, not till just blended, but a little extra. It just makes the cookies a little bit lighter, the dough a little lighter. Okay, so now I'm going to put all of this flour into, oops, get a big spoon, dump all my flour in my huge mixer sifter. Throw that right in there. And what's nice is sometimes flour can feel like it's a little, not all the time, but occasionally it can feel that, to answer the question about the sifting, it's almost like it's a little crumbly. So it gets out all those, it just makes a finer dough as well. So I'm gonna add my baking powder right in there, salt, and then just mix that all together. Sift it. this and alternate with that half a cup of milk, because it does get dry. It seems like it's really dry as you're blending it, but then with the milk at the end, you see, it's not as dry as you think. So, but the milk definitely helps it. Actually, I might abandon this process because I think you know how to do this, so I can get to the good part. I'm looking at the time. I don't want to miss anyone. So basically, I'm going to alternate my flour with this butter mixture and my milk. And then once it will all blend. There's nothing special about this process. And then once you have your batter all finished, take a spatula and just put it in, make it into a ball, and then wrap it in saran wrap. Just tightly wrap it and stick it in your fridge for a couple hours. So then you will have, sorry, we covered quite a few things, but I want to make sure I can show you this process because this is more fun. So I need one more little bowl. Let me see. Got one. Okay. Actually, I might need my beaters, so I'm going to do this off camera. Sorry. So rinse these really quickly. So I use the beaters to blend the coloring because it helps a lot. So let's see. The only problem is I usually use a bigger bowl. I think I've used them all over there. Unless I can put the flour. Oh, it's okay. I just usually use a bigger bowl because the beaters, the dough is a little bit hard and it tends to move around a lot, but it's not a big deal. I'm going to cut this dough. I'm going to use about a half. Doesn't matter how much I use. I'm just going to show you because I might make another color later, but I'm just going to show you when you're dividing up your dough. This again was only half of it, but I did 5 different colors here. So I just divvied it up as best as I could, just kind of eyeball how much you need like this and put it in your bowl. And then in the center, I just put some drops. So I'll do pink and I just squirt some right, I don't know, just a lot of squirts into my dough. And then I'll just kind of cover it up and get my beater. Let's see where my beaters, here they are. And I'm going to blend this. So let's see, hopefully it's not too jumping around. You can also do this with your hands, but they will get a lot less dirty if you use your blender. Okay, so this dough is a little bit cold, but it's still working. Let's see, it's gonna get in the center there a little bit. And as you're going along, you can just add more. If you need more of the color, it's up to you. I'll show you in a second. Okay, so I probably need a little bit more, but it's looking pretty pink, but I don't want it marbleized like this. So I would just, now it's getting a little more malleable. So it's been out a tiny bit and adding the drops. I probably added like 5 or 6. I'm gonna add a couple more. That's why I like a bigger bowl because it tends to jump around. And then I just cover it up so it doesn't splatter and go back at it. You can use your hands, just watch them. It comes off, the coloring comes off, but it's just easier. You'll have like rainbow hands. Okay, so I'm gonna stop there. I think that looks pretty good. I'm gonna use my hands a little bit there just because we're in the interest of time. And there, so when I'm making my different colors, I will just wash this bowl, or if I have other bowls, that's fine. And then wash the blenders and repeat the process for as many as you want to do. So I have this great pink color. I need my flour. I like to keep my flour in a little bowl like this when I'm doing this, so I'm not sticking my hand in the flour jar, keeps it clean, and it's just a lot easier because you need a little bit of flour. This doesn't require as much. It's still, the dough is pretty sticky, so enough flour, probably like that. And then always make sure to flour your rolling pins. And roll this baby out. So I love this. The colors are so pretty. They're so fun to make. I made these yesterday actually to show you. It's a perfect day. Such a terrible day to do anything else outside, but this is great. So these guys I tend to make a little bit, not too thin, because you're going to bake them at 375 for about 8 to 10 minutes. But I tend to bake these closer to 8 minutes and then just check to see how they're doing, because you don't want to burn them, because then you'll get a little bit of the burned, like the brown mixed into your pretty colors. So you want to just cook them. So that's the only thing with these, is you want to just make sure that you keep an eye on your oven. So now these, I like my metal spatula because it's easier to scrape up. And again, if you don't have enough flour under there, just scoop it up, just knead it a little bit and roll it back out. So the other thing I'm going to do, let's see, is I'll do my XOXO. I'll take a little bit of flour and just rub it on the letters, because sometimes they stick a little bit, but it's okay. So if you're using these kinds of cookie cutters, I just press down firmly on the outer edges and then just a little tap, not too much in the center, because it can get stuck in the little, I've learned from experience, it can get stuck in the little letters, but you'll see it says XOXO. And again, I have my water from the tarts that we did. At the end, once you put these on your cookie sheet, you can just lightly with maybe a paper towel, just rub off some of the flour so it doesn't bake in there. But you'll have these amazing cookies, and they're so much fun. These are really cute to do. My kids love these too. So you just keep obviously repeating this. I just like to go do it as I go along, put them on the cookie sheet, or you can do it at the end. So this is great. Again, just when you're baking them, make sure that you peek in and make sure they're not getting browned. Otherwise, you'll have browned edges on your cookies. And if anyone wants a recipe, I believe I have it under sugar cookies. I have sugar cookies on my website, but if you wanted to do a little icing and you can't find these guys, I think I got these on Amazon. They might have them at Cook Snook, but you can use a little pastry bag, a little piping tool, and just write, or you can use a Ziploc baggie and just cut a hole in the tip, and you can write your own little messages on these cookies. So I hope you get to try some of these recipes, and this is so much fun. I'm so glad everyone was here today. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you so much. Everything looks
Sure.
gorgeous.
Oh,
Just
thank
so
you.
much visually, it's just beautiful. It's eye candy for me. We did have a question. Can you color the conversation heart cookie dough before you refrigerate?
Yes, you can do that as well. Sometimes I just stick it in there. You can do that. It's pretty tacky, but yes, it does make it a little bit easier sometimes if you to blend, or you can take it out and let it sit a little bit and then blend it. But yes, you can do that and then wrap it individually too, for sure.
Great. And the other question was, which puff pastry brand do you recommend?
The one, here it is. It's Dufour, and this is fantastic. I really love this. I think I had mentioned that I make this. If you can see this packaging, You can buy this at Walter Stewart's. I don't believe they have it at Acme. I've looked, but definitely Walter Stewart's, Wilton Market, Poundridge, the market up there as well. It's just the taste is a little bit finer. So when you're making, you know, something as delicate as these little tarts, they're delicious. And I have these pizzette I make, and you can definitely taste the difference. But you know, either way, but I would recommend this.
Great, thank you. And I think the last
Sure.
question is, can you tell us about how many cookies this recipe will yield?
Oh gosh, this makes a lot. I have this one I forget. I think it's like 4 dozen maybe. I'm trying to remember the full recipe because I have a whole tin. I have all these, and yeah, so it's probably about 4 dozen. So I typically don't make them all, but when I'm making like all these, I do because I love to stack them and then give them away as treats. So
Great, thank you. I also
Sure.
want to let everyone know that you are coming back and that they should check newcanaanlibrary.org. Just click on our events. We're going to try to bring Caryn back every month. There's a lot of people saying thank you in the chat and a lot of gratitude for sharing your knowledge, your talent, for the wonderful ideas we've shared today. One person we asked to repeat, the name of the puff pastry is Dufours, D-U-F-O-U-R-S.
F-O-U-R. Yeah.
F-O-U-R.
Right
Okay,
here.
great.
Yep.
Thank you. And there's
Sure.
a few people who couldn't access the recipes I put in the chat. I will send an email out to everyone so they have a copy of the recipes.
Perfect.
Thank
Great.
you so
And any
much, Caryn.
questions? Oh, sure. Any questions? Feel free. You can contact me through my website, either one, Cultivated by Caryn or Caryn Antonini, or you have my email address. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. Always happy to help.
Thank you. Everybody have a wonderful day.
All right. Thanks. Thanks so much, Sam.